Breaking tonight, another innocent civilian beheaded at the hands of Islamic terrorists who are allied with ISIS. The Frenchman was kidnapped a few days ago in Algeria. The terrorists saying they would kill him if France's airstrikes in Iraq did not stop. Trace Gallagher has the late-breaking details from our West Coast newsroom. Trace.
And Megan, the videotape is very similar to the ISIS video showing the beheading of 2 American journalists and a British aid worker, except this one does not show 55-year-old Hervé Gordel being beheaded. Instead, it shows him being held down and later shows the aftermath. The group claiming responsibility is Jund al-Khalifa, or Soldiers of the Caliphate, which broke away from the local al-Qaeda affiliate in Algeria just 2 weeks ago and quickly pledged its allegiance to the Islamic State. In fact, Hervé Gordel, a French mountain climbing guide, was kidnapped in Algeria on Sunday, just hours after ISIS called on its supporters around the world to target Westerners who support the U.S.-led coalition to strike ISIS. Jund al-Khalifa then gave the French a 24-hour deadline to end their airstrikes. France, which was the first country to join the U.S. military campaign, responded saying they would continue fighting in Iraq as long as necessary. Today, French President François Hollande confirmed the beheading.
Hervé Gordel is dead because he is a representative of a people, ours, that defends human dignity against barbarity.
Before the beheading, little was known about Jund al-Khalifa except that in 2012, a member of a Pakistani terror group with the same name shot and killed 3 soldiers in Toulouse, France, before attacking a Jewish school, killing a rabbi, a teacher, and 2 students. Now, the question is what other terror groups have or will heed ISIS' call to kill Westerners. Megan.
Trace, thank you. Well, at the same time that story was unfolding today, the president took some heat for a line in his UN speech that seemed to praise a radical cleric. The Kelly File first told you about Sheikh Ben Bayah in May, when the State Department tweeted and then deleted and apologized for promoting a link to his page. His supporters say he is a moderate and that he's not radical. But as we explained back then, his connections are anything but clear.
He is the vice president of this outfit called the International Union of Muslim Scholars, which is run by a guy named Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi, probably the most prominent Sunni Islamic cleric in the world, really the top jurist of the Muslim Brotherhood, and someone who jointly with Sheikh bin Bayah and these other Muslim scholars, who, by the way, now include one of the top leaders of Hamas, who's come on board.
Recognized as a terrorist group by the United States.
Under U.S. law. But they issued the Fatwa in 2003-2004 that called for violent jihad against American military troops and personnel, support personnel in Iraq.
So his group effectively called for the deaths of American soldiers. And even though the White House has repeatedly taken heat for associating with him, he went to the White House once, the president again invoked this sheikh this morning.
Look at the new forum for promoting peace in Muslim societies. Sheikh bin Bayah described its purpose. We must declare war on war so the outcome will be peace upon peace.
Dr. Zhudi Jasser is founder and president of American Islamic Forum for Democracy. He's also author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam and a U.S. Navy veteran. Zhudi, good to see you again. And so the administration does not believe that he is radical. They say that, look, in March of 2014, over 250 Muslim scholars met in Abu Dhabi at the Forum for Promoting Peace in Muslim Societies. Their aim was to refute extremists' ideologies, and he was at the center of doing that. And so this is someone who they need and they want to promote as an outreach to the Muslim world, those who are more extreme, to bring them back.
Well, Megan, you know, this is a narrow focus of an administration that believes, as his speech was riddled with these comments of violent extremism, that it's all about just the tactic, not about the ideology or the ends. And they'll just put their head in the sand and ignore the fact that groups like ISIS don't come out of thin air. There's a continuum. And the more clever groups like the Muslim Brotherhood or bin Bayah or Qaradawi are condemning the means, but they still believe in the same ends, the supremacism of the Islamic State. Sheikh bin Bayah that he quoted to us. Now, first last week the president was telling us what's Islamic. Now he's shoving down us Muslim throats this silver-bearded theocrat that I'm supposed to follow, when in fact this theocrat was in 2004. We were sending out releases saying that the true moderates were not maligning our soldiers in Iraq. We're not claiming a jihad. But the narrative from this administration is against the moderates, and it's actually promoting the status quo.
But just to be clear, so because I'm confused, I see that there's a Rabbi, Dr. Mark Gopin of George Mason, he's with the Center for World Religions, who calls this sheikh one of the gentlest and most peace-oriented scholars in the Islamic world. However, the Anti-Defamation League says he is a theologian of terror, and the State Department had to apologize for posting a link to what this guy said. So why then does the President of the United States go before the United Nations in an enormous forum and tout the very man who his State Department apologized for repeating?
Well, because the bottom line is the narrative is that he doesn't want to take on this Islamist ideology. He wants to take on the tactic of terror. So when you have these super soft and what appear to be kind-hearted gentlemen condemn Al-Qaeda, condemn the ISIS groups, they're not going to look at what fuels that, which is the sheikh himself was a sheikh, the head of Sharia in Mauritania, where they still condone slavery. This group was issuing fatwas against Israel, against America, and
they were.
I mean,
I looked it up. I looked to try to find the part where he denies that or denounces it or says he's had a change of heart. He's the vice president of this group that issued a fatwa saying it was okay to kill American soldiers. The president of that group is a very troubling man, this Qaradawi, who's done a lot worse than this guy did. He called for jihad against the United States and Israel. This is this sheikh's group. Qaradawi is the head of it. This guy, bin Bayah, was the vice president for 10+ years. I don't understand why our president is pointing to him. At a minimum, he's rather controversial.
Absolutely, because Qaradawi and bin Bayah are like this. Qaradawi can't even come to the U.S. because of his statements and how radical he is, and his Islamism that he's promoting, and promoting Hamas and other groups. We don't have a vision. We don't have a strategy. So ultimately, if it's just a counterterrorism operation, we're going to join forces with governments like Saudi Arabia that promote Wahhabism because it's only a target that in and out and we're gone. If it's a long-term vision, and I'd argue, Megan, that the Bush of 2014 would not be giving the same speech.
I got to wrap you,
Obama is 13 years behind.
A hard break. The White House is standing by the president's statements, and we will be right back with Chris Direwalt. Don't go away.